So hello and welcome back to the Champ.ie podcast ahead of Fairyhouse's Winter Festival. We also have the Hennessy at Newbury this week, of course, in the fighting fifth at Newcastle. I'm joined by Mr. Ronan Groome from the Irish Field, Thomas Coyle from Batterstown, County Meath, and a very sharp-looking Mike Vince, who has got dressed up and all for the show with a tie. Mike?
Yes, I pleaded guilty and they let me off in time to do the show.
Well,
of course, it is now the Ladbrokes Trophy, the big race on Saturday rather. But what a weekend we've got on both sides of the Irish Sea. Terrific. And I'm good to see that at least as far as the Irish representation is concerned, you've got the A team in town and the mother-in-law sends her love.
Well, we have a great show lined up, of course. We're going to be previewing all those big races this weekend. We'll be starting with the long distance hurdle, but we also have Rachael Blackmore as well coming up on the show as well. Rachael, who's ahead of Paul Townend in the Irish Jockeys Championship presently at the moment. But the first race, lads, we're going to preview comes tomorrow in the shape of the long distance hurdle at Newbury. Mike Vince, we'll come to you on this one first. I might give you a show of betting first of all. McFabulous 5-2 favourite, joint favourite with Paisley Park, who's 5-2 as well. Tyne Hill 7-2 has come in for a bit of support. Somerville Boy 8-1, Honest Vic 12-1. Last year's Stairs Hurdle winner Lisnagar Oscar is 14-1. Sam Spinner 20-1, and it is 40-1 the rest. Mike, we're with you. We'll stay with you. Thoughts on the long distance hurdle?
What a cracking horse race is my first thought. I saw Emma Lavelle. I've been at Taunton races today, and I saw Emma very well wrapped up against the elements, smiling. I'm going with Fabulous, and I'm going for one reason only, and that is that the horse has had a run. Of the three major players here, namely Paisley Park, Fabulous, and Tyne Hill, he's had a run. I think that is a very significant advantage. I thought Lisnagar Oscar. Just his number came up last March. The Stayers Hurdle for me was the most unsatisfactory race of the entire festival. Paisley Park, I think, might just come on for it, and I think Fabulous for me. But that is for one reason only. Don't doubt the other two horses. I think that having had a run will be a massive advantage.
I think so. Paisley Park probably hasn't come up against anything of the sort of horses that he's going to face tomorrow, Ronan, has he? I mean, would you take a Tyne Hill and McFabulous against him, or would you be looking at something at a bigger price?
I'm not a big fan of McFabulous, Barry, to be honest. I think there was a bit of an overreaction to his win at Chepstow. I know you're a big fan of the horse, but I thought he basically was the top-rated horse there, and Nicholls' horses were flying at the time, and he won easy, but he didn't really beat much. I'm not sure the form is up to much, to be honest. Look, Tyne Hill is the cracking novice from last season who won 3 times going into Cheltenham and was fourth in what was an excellent Albert Bartlett. I think that form is working out okay. The likes of Fury Road and the latest exhibition doing okay over fences so far. Look, it's all about Paisley Park. I mean, if he's back to his best, he wins, doesn't he? The big question there is just where he's at after that problem that he had. It was an irregular heartbeat that got him beat in the Stairs. If he's back to his best, I think he'll win here, to be honest. I think the form of his win in this race last year is quite good. And I think it's significant that he has decent ground to run on. I don't think they'd be too keen to run him back here on the soft ground, bottom him out for his first run back when he's had that little problem in between. But I think everything's been okay. All the reports have been all right. Won't be having a bet in the race, but Paisley Park is the one I think who is the most likely winner, and I'd like to see him get back to winning ways. I think I like the story, I like the horse, the connections and everything, and it'd be great to see him get back with a win here.
Yeah, I really like McFabulous. Tom, I want to ask Tom about the issue with Paisley Park. Would you, I suppose, how big an issue is that, an irregular heartbeat, and do horses come back from that?
I think there's plenty of things you can do now. Different vets, obviously, different doctors, different patients. But no, there's a lot they can do for it now. It wouldn't bother me too much. They've obviously had plenty plenty of time now since the last run, and they've obviously been checking it now. Most horses in big yards now actually go out with heart monitors and that on them. So it wouldn't bother me too much. It's actually interesting. I think if he didn't have that, problem last year and won the Stayers Hurdle well, I don't think there'd be as many runners in this. I'd say people have said, right, let's have a crack at him. I agree with Rowan. I think Time Hill, that was a good Albert Bartlett. He could step up on his novice and give him something to think about. Just one other on the form of having a run. Somerville Boy, he was touted as a very good horse a couple of years ago. He was workman like fashion the last day, and he beat Chittabello and Thomas Darby. So Johnny Burke is having a great run of it these days. So he with fitness on his side, he might give them something to think. But if Paisley Park is back to his best, he should take the beating.
Yeah, I just think a lot of people were early last season were looking for that horse to kind of step up. I know If the Cap Fits was mentioned as one that could potentially challenge last year, and you just look the way Paisley Park, like he was always was he always the horse that it hits a flat spot in a race, and is he even more vulnerable this time around to maybe a more classier? I just think McFabulous. Lots of people are talking about Tyne Hill, but he'd definitely be my selection in the race. Coming on to Saturday at Newbury, the intermediate handicap hurdle, lads. It's at 225. It was won last year by Epatante. Is Marie's Rock the new Epatante, Mike Vince?
I think the fights are quite strong, to the extent that Marie's Rock was actually entered for the fighting fifth, although Nicky Henderson, in fairness, made it absolutely clear that she was plan B. She was only in the race in case anything went wrong with Epatante. They clearly think the world of her. This race, of course, is the Jerry Fields, so it's got a very, very rich history. But again, there are plenty you make chances for. I was impressed with Botox Haas, I have to say, at Cheltenham. I thought he ran really well. And there'll be a bit of money around, I suspect, as well, for the other Henderson horse, namely Floressa. And Time White was won last time. But of course, we all are waiting for you to pronounce horse number 2 in this race, given your efforts a couple of weeks ago. Sebastopol.
Sebastopol. I've learned how to pronounce it.
Yeah,
Ronan Groome liked him as well.
Bodox Haas has got to give weight away. That's the one downer for him. But there was an awful lot to like about it. And if he's going to be a serious champion hurdle contender, I think he's got to win this. And of course, the yard could hardly be in better form. Thursday at Lingfield, they took the rest of the world to the cleaners and were really impressive. So I would chance Bodox Haas against Marie's Rock here. Although she's 3 from 3, she's had a wind operation. She ticks a lot of boxes, and it is in Henderson's backyard. But that means that some of the others are better value. And although it's a 4-year-old Bodox Haas against older horses, it'll do for me.
Roland, Sebastopol has got a bit of good ground. Is he still on your radar?
Yeah, but this is a very good race, Barry, and I've got a couple of others on my radar as well. I can look. Marie's
don't
Rock.
Don't keep us too long.
Sorry. Look, Marie's Rock is she's pretty. You can see why she's favourite. She's won 3 times last season. She's had the wind up. She's got that smart turn of foot towards the end of her racing, and she's quite like Epatante. There's like a lot of parallels there. But isn't she short here at 11-8? I just think just maybe a bit of the hype taken over, because this is a good race. I think the likes of Time White, Milkwood, Sebastopol, even the 4-year-olds there, the Pinkin. I think these are all good horses. The one I actually came down on is Floressa, the other Henderson mare, who seems to be a bit
course and distance winner. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the course and distance win of that run at Newbury here last year. I mean, it couldn't really have worked out any better. Jeremy's Flame was second to her. She went on and ran second in the Tolworth, the Grade 1. Heaven Help Us was fourth in that. She went on to Christmas and ran second to Abracadabra. Silver Forever won again. Even then, you go down to that early morning rain. Jamie Snowden's horse that won by 27 lengths on its next start. Just looked really good form, and then Floressa went on to Doncaster into Open Company, and she she ran second to Lady Buttons. I think that's strong form as well. The race there was kind of slowly run, and she ran a bit keen early on, and she sweated up again. That's what she tends to do. I just think there's a bit of scope there for her to progress. And back at Newbury over the course and distance, like, she bombed at Cheltenham, fair enough, but so did Epatante before coming back into this race last season. And it's interesting that there's so many good races for mares, like easier targets that trainers can go for, but Nicky's opted to throw her in here back over this course and distance and taking on his other good mare, Marie's Rock. So I'll take the hint. I she's 8-1. I think she can get 9-1 in a couple of places. I think she'll be actually well backed in the next 24 hours, and she'll do for me.
Now we're going to come on to the 3 o'clock at Newbury. Ronan Groome, this is probably one of my favourite races of the year. Of course, the rasher counter, the bacon rasher, as Michael Vince calls last year's winner. Thomas, we'll start with you on the Ladbrokes Trophy. I was corrected by Mike earlier. The Hennessy, as I would have known it over the years. Vindication is your 5-1 favourite, Thomas Coyle. I write 7-1. Black Ops 7-1. Kill the Start is 7-1. The Conditional ran a huge race in this last year, 7-1. Copperhead 9-1. Secret Investor 10-1. 2 for Gold 10-1. Clot Cap 11-1. Beware the Bear is a 16-1 shot, and it is 20-1 the rest. What did you come down on, Thomas Coyle?
I had a quick run through it. Vindication probably deserves to be favourite. He ran in, obviously, behind Surname the last time when we were all thinking, would he stay that trip? To me, the step up on trip is going to be a big plus for Vindication. Even that day against Surname, he looked slow. David Bass was kicking him down to every fence just to try and gain a length to get him back on the bridle and that. I think the extra 2 furlongs is going to be a massive plus. Another 2, Black Op, he was 4 to Imperial Aura up in Carlisle. He looked like he needed that run, but the one I came down on also ran in that race. It's the Skelton's horse, Ardlethen. He was 7.5 lengths behind Black Op that day, but he badly looked like he needed a run. He's £12 better off for 7.5 lengths. He only is 10 stone 2. I'm not sure. Harry Skelton, I don't see him often doing low enough weights like that. Maybe Mike could tell us a bit better. But just from lengths, and I just watched that race back, he literally looked like he was right there till the last, and it looked like he just got tired. So bottom weight in a staying chase is always good to me, and the Skelton's seem in decent enough form. Look, it is a classy race. Vindication deserves to be favourite, but I thought something at a bit of a price could go well with a lightweight, so I came down on him.
Mike Vince.
Well, you can make a case for so many of these, but I suppose Kim Bailey runs 2 for Gold looking for Vindication. I think he jumps a bit right. I think he might be better right-handed. Before I tell you what I fancy, should we hear from somebody who's involved in it? Because obviously this wonderful story about I Wright, who was 3rd in the Charlie Hall and was only beaten 7 lengths by Vindication, and then there was Surname in front of that. Is trained in the Borders by Harriet Graham, who's got 8 horses, and she's much better known as the clerk of the course at Musselburgh and at Hamilton. And it's a first ride at Newbury for young jockey Callum Bewley, who finishes a suspension the day of this race, so he can ride I Wright. And here's what he thinks of it.
He's the best I think I've ridden. He's just so straightforward from a jockey's point of view. He's very forward going. Jumps very well. He's maybe not got like Harry said, he's not the biggest horse in the world, but in terms of like what he can do out on the race course, he's very special in the way he can jump and travel, and he seems to get horses off the bridle a long way from home, and he finds that he's in his comfort zone. So no, look, he's a horse that all he's ever done is please us. Like Harry said, he's progressed. He's done nothing wrong, and I think, in my opinion, he's done everything to prove he's got a chance to go down to Newbury and give his chance. I've been very lucky. I've been very well supported by a lot of good people, and again, Saturday's a big day for everybody. But I do think that the horse has done nothing wrong to now. After Weatherby at Charlie Hall, that run was solid. He ran a cracker. I thought he jumped, and he put a lot of horses under pressure, a lot of good horses, and like Harriet said, it'll be very interesting off level. Well, going in on different terms this time, weight wise, it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
First trip to Newbury, does that mean you'll do anything different? Do you actually take a little bit of time out to look at the quirks, as it were, of the track?
I always go for a run around the race course. Every time I ride, pretty much when I've got time, I will go for a run around the race course. And I've watched numerous races around Newbury. I've watched the Hennessy's back. I'd like to think I know where things are going and where people aren't going, and I'll go for a run around and make sure everything's as straightforward as it seems. And yeah, just so it's all there in my head,
And what's your take on the trip? Because obviously this is further than the Charlie Hall and further than the RS at Cheltenham last March.
Yeah, I suppose that is a question mark there, isn't there? But for me, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. I don't. I think we'd always thought of him as being a stair. I mean, when he started out he started out over 2 miles, and we've gradually progressed with him because it's just the way he's been going. I know we did start back over 2 miles his first run this season, and he ran a cracker. He ran a serious race. I think I can't see it being too much of an issue in my opinion. I think he'll be fine.
That is Callum Bewley. As to what wins, I'm torn between two here. I think Kill Dysart's going to have if he is ever going to win one, Saturday's the day. He's been placed here, and he was third in that race that Bryony Frost won from the front on Frodon at Cheltenham. So is race fit, and de Bonneville rides. I think is a positive and is a leading player. But I wouldn't rule out a huge run. Go right down the bottom, even lower than the one that they were talking about, Arletta. They go to Cloth Cap. Cheap pieces on for the first time. Tom Skoo riding for John Joe. Third on seasonal reappearance in the Trevor Hemmings colours. He'd love a winner. And of course, Cloth Cap, you don't need me to tell you how that horse is named. Bearing in mind there's 18 runners and 4 places. I think he's knocking good each way value in the race. But here's a bit of trivia for you. Only 3 jockeys have ever won the race twice. 3 jockeys. And one of them is Paul Nicholls. There you go. Useless information at your fingertips. So for me, I'll go Kill Dysart and Cloth Cap each way.
I do like Kill the Sard, Mike. He has the form on good ground as well. Was a nice winner at the entry. You get the trip, and I think that there is a big one in him. I can see why the money's come for him at 7-1. But look, the ground is a small bit of a worry for me with 2 for Gold. I think he has an action that suggests he obviously is a better horse on when there is a bit more dig in the ground. I thought it was interesting. He was definitely on my radar for the festival last year, for the National Hunt Chase, and didn't go. Off a mark of 148, thought he ran a nice comeback at Weatherby over a trip that wouldn't have suited. So look at that. No strong real selection in this year's race for me, but I'd probably go Kill the Sard and 2 for Gold against the field. Ronan Groome.
Yeah, look, it's that sort of race, Barry. There's loads of you can make a case for so many, and I like one maybe not. That's probably not as obvious as the ones at the top. Mr. Malarkey. I think he was all the rage coming into this race last year, and he kind of had a poor run before that, and it kind of just dampened enthusiasm. But he still ran 6th. I think the key to him is good ground. Again, he ran, had a little prep run at Ascot in the race that Regal Encore won, but he drifted like a barge that day, and it was all because of the ground. He went out to 25-1 from like a morning price of 10-1. He still ran okay. He ran 6th, but he's back at Newbury now off the same mark he was last year, and he's on good ground this time as well. I just think he could be a little under the radar for Colin Tizard, who absolutely loves this race. He loves lining horses up for it. He's booked John Joe O'Neill, and he's put the blinkers on first time as well. So 16-1 about him.
Interesting, just Ronan that he was tying with the idea of running the Mander Pippin. Said he was in fantastic form after Cheltenham, and this is the one he runs. So
yeah, he has a lot of those horses, and he as I said, he loves this race. He always tries to line a few up for likes theatre guide and that of one from Native River, obviously. And the other one I just wanted to mention quickly, Barry, was Secret Investor. I think is probably the best handicapped horse in the race. Officially, he is anyway. He's £3 better off on his mark because he beat Potterman at Chepstow. And that horse obviously went on a run of cracker then in the Badger Rails when second, and probably should have even got up against that El Presidente. So he's unexposed over a trip. He's a second run after his wind surgery. He ran an excellent race, went second to Native River in the Denman Chase last season. That was only his first start up at this sort of trip. He has an extra 2 furlongs to go, but you wouldn't that could be okay for him. It could even bring out further improvement because he seems to have improved for coming up in trip. And he won so easy that day that it looked like he had more to give. He's only had 9 starts over fences, so he kind of ticks the boxes as one of those progressive chasers. So 2 against the field for me would be Secret Investor and Mr. Malarkey.
I'm going to open up the floor, lads. Anything else at Newbury on Saturday, or even Friday for that matter?
I'll just throw one in the mix. Really like Kaluki. Jump for fun on debut. And goes in the Sunny Bay colours. Those of us who are as old as people like me and Mr. Groome will remember Sunny Bay. And Kaluki won on debut over fences at the last Newbury meeting really nicely. I think he'll go well in the John Franken, which is the second race on Saturday.
Mike, Finn's going to stay with you. We're going to move on to the fighting fifth at 2:05 at Newcastle. Still no Goshen.
Yeah, he goes. The latest word I have is that he goes for the international at Cheltenham on about the 10th or 11th of December. That's what connections have decided. I don't think this is a one-horse race by any manner of means. This, yes, Epitanti's done all that's asked. Yes, Epitanti gets the allowances. But just before I have my say, should we have Nicky Henderson's say?
I do. The timing's good for us, really. I mean, you could. It's good. It's good timing for the Christmas hurdle, to be honest with you, which is where it comes into, whereas the international comes too close to the Christmas hurdle. So if you're going down that route, which we like, then the Fighting Fifth has been a good. I would say last year was not a good expedition, and it's when Bouvardin got this amazing piece of hurdle wedged under his foot, right under the hoof, whereupon they had to take the whole of the front of the hoof off to get all the bits and pieces out. He's in very good form. He's coming along really well. So he comes into the equation somewhere. I'm not sure when and I'm not sure where, but we're very, very pleased with his progress. Bets in England and Ireland have done a fantastic job, and the horse looks terrific.
The track at Newcastle, it would probably suit her, won't it?
I think she's got a lot of pace. She'll need it now. I mean, there's been a lot of, I was never quite sure what was going to come into the race. I have just seen the entries, and we were thinking that Gary Moore's horse would be there would we guarantee a really truly run race. He isn't, but then Hughie Morrison's
not so sleepy.
I mean, we know that goes a right good gallop, so we know that there's going to be no hanging around.
And with Sir Royal in there, could be a proper race.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. There'll be no hiding. But luckily, I think she's done plenty of work. And as I say, they'll go a really good pace. So, no, I think we're up and ready for it, and look forward for going back there. It's been a good race to us, as I say, with the exception of last year. So we'll take a few up there. I mean, if the ground is good, you've got the rehearsal chase as well. So we'll probably might have one or two even in that.
I think Silver Streak might beat the favourite here. Love the horse.
That's a big call, Mike.
In great nick. And for me, I think certainly Epatante is very short. And there was a lot to like about the way Silver Streak beat, Verdana Blue handsomely at Kempton on seasonal reappearance, and was about 6th in the champion hurdle, which was right to suit Epatante. And I think with the benefit of a run, Silver Streak's a knocking good bet against the favourite here.
Mike Finn's shocking us all. Do you remember Colin Finlay last year in the 8 points to play Ronan Groome? Cornerstone lad. Of course, it was unfortunate what happened to favourite, but would you be with the favourite here, or would you be bold enough to take on something else?
I probably won't be having a bet in the race, but I do echo what Mike said. I don't think it's as cut and dry as an odds-on quote might suggest, and this race can be a bit soft, like a lot of the 2 mile hurdles these days on both sides of the IRC. But you'd like to So Royal, who's in there and has won twice already, and Silver Streak, who was so impressive at Kempton. I just be slightly, I suppose Kempton and Newcastle, they're quite similar tracks in the kind of flat way, so that shouldn't pose a problem. Silver Streak, and yeah, if anyone liked them at 5-1, I wouldn't put anyone off them taking them with the advantage of race fitness, taking on Epatante, who albeit does have a lot of scope for progression still and gets all the allowances again. But it's not a betting race for me, but it's good to see it's a decent race, and Epatante will get a good test first time up.
Lovely. Before we come on to Fairyhouse, special guest Rachael Blackmore, let's have a listen to our interview earlier on. Of course, she is ahead in the Irish Jumps Jockeys Championship, and let's hear what she has to say ahead of the weekend. So we're delighted to be joined by Rachael Blackmore once again, of course, on the Champ.ie podcast ahead of the Fairyhouse Winter Festival. Rachael, things are going great guns this season. Another winner again today.
Thanks a million. That was 51 today, so no, look, it's fantastic. Having a good time of it. Big help having the backing of such a big yard.
So you're heading the Jockeys Championship as well. That must be exciting ahead of Paul.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it while it lasts now. He's made rapid headway in the last week. So I'd say another day or two now, and I'll be back in second. But we'll enjoy it while it lasts.
Absolutely. And starting at Rachael with the graded races at Fairyhouse this weekend, Manila Melody goes for the mare's hurdle on Saturday. She ran well on seasonal reappearance behind the progressive Beacon Edge at Galway last month. Would you be hopeful maybe she could get a bit closer to Concertista, a course that she's won before?
Oh, definitely. She's quite a burly mare, and she wanted that run in Galway, and she seems to have come out of it well, and we're very happy with her. So, yeah, really looking forward to her. She didn't seem to turn up in Cheltenham at all, so for whatever reason, I'm not sure. But you just draw a line through Cheltenham, I think, and on her previous form, you'd be very much looking forward to her.
And by Fleming's Fort, the ground obviously is going to be soft. Now, I know Concertista did win at Cheltenham with a bit of dig in the ground, but you'd imagine that'd help.
Yeah, she'll handle that fine. So, we're really looking forward to her now this weekend, and she has the run under her belt.
And the Royal Bond hurdle, Henry has annexation entered in here, rated at 78 on the flat, and he's having his third run over hurdles. What's your thoughts on him?
He, as you say, he's entered in that. So we'll see if he's declared tomorrow morning. But yeah, look, he's nice. He's progressing away the whole time, and it'll be interesting to see where he can pan out in a field like that. So coming on to the Hatton's Grace, the mighty Honeysuckle is set to make her reappearance this weekend. How is she? She's fantastic, yeah. Everyone is very happy with her. Coleman Comerford rides her out every day. He couldn't be happier with her. Henry seems happy. We're really looking forward to seeing her back out again. And she's obviously a very special mare for all of us to be involved with.
Is she a stronger mare this year? Yeah,
look, she did really well over the summer. she's never too flashy at home. She does what she has to do, and she's professional about her job. So yeah, look, we're really looking forward to seeing her back out again. As I say, Coleman is the main man who rides her out on a daily basis, and he's happy with her. So that's enough for me,
Is that your favourite ever day in racing, Honeysuckle winning the mares?
I tell you, it was a special day now. It really was. She had such a fantastic season building up to it. And, at the end of the day, it's Cheltenham. It's where everyone wants to be. It's what she was bought for to win in Cheltenham. And to finally get that box ticked, was very special.
Brilliant. Flashback to last weekend, Rachel. Manella Endo put in another win on the board, and maybe one step closer, maybe to a Gold Cup tilt. In your mind, does he shape up into a Gold Cup contender?
Oh yeah, definitely. He's definitely a lot sharper in himself this year. He's going about his business well. He seems to also have relaxed a lot more in both his races. He seems to have just taken them in his stride. We were hoping he'd do what he did in Wexford the first day and in Navan the last day as well. To keep the dream alive, as they say. But it was great to get those 2 runs under his belt, and you really couldn't have asked him to do any more.
And a slightly different campaign this year. I know he was likely a race, I suppose, going to the Cheltenham Festival. You'd imagine getting 2, 3, even maybe 4 runs into him before Cheltenham is obviously going to really help him when he lines up at Prestbury.
Yeah, he is. He's a big horse. Like when he won the Albert Bartlett, he was a maiden going to Cheltenham. So he takes his runs well, and he seems to need them. So it was a conscious effort by Henry this year, I suppose, to get more racing under his belt. And he's gone out there. He's jumped all his fences, and he's got the job done. So we couldn't be happier with him. And all roads lead to Christmas now for him.
You talk about horses that jump fences. Notebook was a horse on plenty of people's lips heading into the Arkle last year. He made a nice return last weekend, Rachel, at Naas. Do you think he's on finished business at 2 miles, or might we see the best of him when he stepped up and trip maybe later in the season?
No, he's definitely didn't. We didn't see the real Notebook in Cheltenham at all. I don't think. He'd had quite a hard race in Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival before he went over. So I don't think we saw the real Notebook in Cheltenham at all. But yeah, it was fantastic to see him back to his best at the weekend. And yeah, he's a fantastic horse to ride. He can be tricky down to the start, but once you get down there, he's a beautiful horse to ride in a race. And you only have to look at him to see his jumping technique is fantastic, and it's nice to be on his back.
Just a couple of questions from Twitter, Rachel. Lloyd Murphy asks, what were your immediate thoughts after Bob Bollinger's impressive debut over hurdles against Fernie Hollow? Do you think maybe he's one to stick at 2 mile, or would we see him maybe stepped up and trip as the season goes on? I suppose he's all those options.
Yeah, he does. He's plenty of options. Look, he's a very, very talented horse. It was quite frustrating, I suppose, to when you ride a horse with the ability he has and to finish second in the maiden hurdle, but you've got the Cheltenham bumper winner rattling down to the last with you. So look, it was a really, really good race, and they're both.
How did it ride, Rachel? The race, was it a slow, and did it develop more into a sprint, which maybe might have suited the champion bumper winner, or how did it ride for you?
Yeah, it did. We did sprint. It did turn into a bit of a sprint, I suppose. And I suppose Fernie Hollow has a lot more. He's been essentially in a lot more finishes than my horse. And he has a bit more race experience on his side than my lad does. So. Look, they're both real talented horses, obviously, and they both have big futures ahead of them. And as I say, it was disappointing when you're riding something of his ability. But yeah, that's just the way it worked out in Gordon, unfortunately. And yeah, we look forward to him the next day.
Simon Curry asks, what is your thoughts on Holy Macapony and how much ability does he have?
Yeah, he was impressive. A point-to-point winner and done it well. Done it well. His first one over hurdles. So yeah, sure. His future at the moment. The world is his oyster. He's quite an unassuming horse at home. But he really brought his A game to the track. And I'm not sure what Henry has planned for him. But he couldn't have done any more for us.
James Robinson asks, how close was Honeysuckle to going chasing?
I'd say sure options are all open for her as well, I suppose. She is a point-to-point winner, but at the moment she's not doing anything wrong over hurdles. So I don't get too involved in what her plans are, to be honest. Leave that up to Henry and Peter Maloney, who's Kenny Alexander's racing manager, and Kenny himself. I'm just delighted to be on her back wherever she goes.
Just one other horse I want to ask you about was Monolly. Obviously, you ran a fantastic race in the Gold Cup last year. Might you have a decision to make this year?
I know. It's fantastic for the Maloneys to have two horses of that calibre and that grade. He ran an incredible race in the Gold Cup last year. Like I got properly cut up on the bend, and he did. He ran fantastic. He needed his run in Thurles the last day, and. Yeah, I think he's going to get an entry in the King George as well. We're not sure where he's going to aim for at Christmas, but he's an extremely talented horse as well.
Rachael Blackmore, brilliant to have you on the Champ.ie podcast. I want to wish you all the best, and you never know, we could be speaking to Rachael Blackmore, the champ, at the end of the season.
I don't know. I'd say that's highly unlikely, but we'll see.
The very best of luck. Thanks a million, Rachael.
Thanks a million, Barry.
All right, bye-bye. First race we want to discuss is on Sunday, lads, at Fairyhouse, the Royal Bun Novices Hurdle, Grade 1. Thomas, will stay with you because I think you were saying that if this was any ordinary year, there'd be a big busload coming over from Batterstown, or Caffrey's in Batterstown. Has to be one of the best meetings of the year.
Yeah, definitely. The racing that's on, it's brilliant, and it's a real kind of, well, especially around here, a lot of meat people seem to go up on a Sunday and enjoy the racing there. It's a crack card. You've got 3 Grade 1s and you've got a couple of good handicaps as well. So it's a pity that things are the way they are, but there's good racing, so at least people can sit home and watch it and enjoy it.
And Shewearsitwell wins hands down, yeah?
You're mad about this horse. You seem to have a bit of a horn on every Willie Mullins person running at the minute. So you do. Anthony runs, you seem to be on the blower about. She won well in Tipperary the last day. She didn't beat a whole lot. She couldn't have done it more impressive, but this is a different kettle of fish. I was kind of half hoping she'd go for the mares race on Saturday just to get you out of the equation, but that didn't happen. But she has Ballyadam to beat. He's the big talking horse. He done it well up and down Royal. The horse that was second actually that day of Lorna Fowler's, I'd say, is a very decent horse. He just didn't jump slick enough. I think it's Colonel Mustard, I think his name was. He's definitely one to look out for. But he couldn't have been more impressive, and I'll wave the Mead flag here. So I'll stick with him.
Ronan Groome, Ballyadam. What we saw of him at Down Royal is jumping in one to improve to beat Shewearsitwell, wouldn't it?
If you think Shewearsitwell is going to come up to Gordon Elliott's backyard in Fairyhouse and get a win over Ballyadam here, honestly, Barry, you need to give it up, mate. Because this thing is, I like this Ballyadam a lot. I think he's going to be. I'm not saying he's
jumping in one to improve any of it.
I don't. He made one little mistake at the last. The rest of it I thought was fine.
He's flicking hurdles the whole way around. His knees were sore.
Yeah. Look, I'm being hard on you there for Shewearsitwell because she's done it nicely, winning like mares hurdles during the summer there. But this is the real deal now, so I'm not sure if it's going to last through. But she recorded a good time at Tipperary, in fairness to her, and I know the guy who organises the Sutton Racing Club is a really good guy, James Fenton down in Cork, and they have a nice mare here for sure. And she gets all the allowances as well. And Willie Mullins won this with Early Beach a couple of years ago as well, kind of a similar type. But I think Ballyadam is a good horse. I think this could cut up. We have 11 runners there now. I'm not sure we have that many on the day.
Well, just one horse I want to mention here actually to you, Ronan, because this Mead versus Carroll thing. Well, anyway, look, it is a Mead horse. It's Jesse Evans. Noel Mead actually was would you say, was quite sweet on the horse heading into Navan the last time. He unseated at the first, so we didn't really see how.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was second on the flat there before that. Second to a Harrington horse, that name escapes me now, Ilmig or something like that. And Noel Mead was saying that he got there a bit too soon, or in fact he might have won it again, or he left him a bit short of work as well. So it was unfortunate he didn't get that far behind Ngolo. So he's not really tested, so it's hard to really make a strong case for him, but it'll be interesting to see how it gets on.
Mike, Vince, thoughts on the Royal Bond? Which way are you swaying?
I find it amazing that Ngolo is double figure price if it turns up. I was big on it last time when it won the for auction at Navan, and the sheet of paper I've got in front of me has it down as a 10-to-1 shot, which I find extraordinary. And I think it could go well. And don't rule out you talk about Noel Mead, the improving Caskmate as well. But yeah, Ballyadam is the one that they have to beat. And it's a question of which of Willie's 5 will turn up. I don't think annexation is good enough. I would think Ngolo each way, if enough stay in the race, might be the bet here.
I just think, Mike, if you're going for Ngolo, like annexation the last day when the ground turned heavy, drifted like an absolute barge pole. I think it went from like 7-2 out to 10 or 12-1. And going down to the last, you would have picked her out as the winner.
Absolutely agree with you.
We've had a pretty dry week, and I think it's dry all over the weekend. So I think if the ground dries up a bit, I definitely wouldn't give that without a squeak of getting a place, that annexation. It definitely looks a nice horse, and you could see the vibes weren't right when the ground had turned heavy the last day in Navan. And I just think I only live a couple of miles from the track, and we've had a decent enough week here, and it's more the same over the weekend. So if it does dry up a little bit, I think it's an easier track for it as well, because it pulled quite hard that day. So he's one that might surprise a few in it.
Interesting. Mike, back to you. Trinmore, 135 at Fairyhouse. Looks like a Gordon Elliott affair. Are we playing for second place here?
Well, it'll be won by either Gordon Elliott or Joseph O'Brien, won't it? I think that is a slightly serious stat, being honest. The fact that we come here and we're waiting for the final decks, but the 7 left in the race are handled by 2 trainers, and there's nothing coming out of Closutton. I think.
Well, I just want to point out, if Thomas Coyle thought Cocoa Beach was going to beat an Ergonem, she'd probably think he's going to beat Envoy Allen.
Envoy Allen ought to win doing handstands. If he turns up, I would think that Easy Work will follow him home.
Straight forecast, is it, Ronan Groome?
Yeah, it's not really a betting race, but just to build on your point there, that it's a bit disappointing that there's 7 runners here. There's only 2 trainers represented and 4 owners. And you'd like Jigginstown have 4 in there, JP is 1, and GB Pack have 1, and Joseph was other owner there. I just think that's quite disappointing. It's quite reminiscent of what is going on in the jumps game in Ireland these days. It's absolute domination from the top, and it's why you see a lot of trainers going back towards the flat now, and it's more competitive. It seems to have gone full circle in Ireland. There used to be the flat you wouldn't go near because there's no chance of winning. Now it seems like the flat is the more viable option for so many people, because the prices that are getting paid for these horses are insane, and this grade 1 here is a perfect example.
It's funny you say it. It's actually funny you say that, because this time last year we were all talking about the big gamble that was coming upon Ronald Pump, which was obviously representing is it the Limerick Leash Syndicate?
Yeah, and he got fairly flattened out as well, which shows you how hard it is, you know. So it'd be interesting how Gordon kind of handles his entries, because he's got one for Sheveley, one for Jigginstown, and one for JP. So how does he kind of negotiate that? If they all turned up, it would be a good race, because I'm a big fan of Easy Work. Does he run him against Envoy Allen again? Like he over fences, he might find a bit of improvement there to give him more of a race. Andy Dufresne has always been a well thought of horse and did it well first time up. So you're looking for one of them, to at least 2 or 3 of them anyway, to run against Envoy Allen to give him a race. But what Envoy Allen did at Down Royal, he was faultless nearly, and he's just done everything so easy so far that it's hard to see him beat, really.
That seems to be the very common view, and anytime anyone goes against us, to get shut down about Envoy Allen. Thomas Coyle, Envoy Allen.
Yeah.
How far? I want to ask you, how far does he actually go in your opinion? Like, are you an absolute lover of this horse, Thomas Coyle?
Yeah. You've tried to get him beat so many times. Look, he's going to go right to the
I wouldn't
top.
say so many times. He's tried to get it.
That's why he keeps winning.
I took him on last year, but
I know. Look, he does, and it just shows you when you don't see Willie with a horse in here, and people are probably trying to dodge him, is a word to say. When you see that Gordon has the first 3 favourites, just another point. That was a great point that Ronan made up there about domination. If you look at today, even in Thurles like today, Willie Mullins had a couple odds on shots, but it was funny that Gordon Elliott could see these entries. He only had 1 runner on the card, and literally in them maiden hurdles, Willie jumps off in front and Rachael follows on a Bromhead horse, and it's just kind of 2 horse races, which is, it's not good for the public to be looking at either, but it just shows the strength and depth that the bigger trainers have, and you can see people ducking and dodging, like Gordon staying away from there today because he knew Willie had a few going. It's just interesting. It was a good point. But back to this, yeah, look, Envoy Allen, he's the horse to beat, and fair play to Gordon if he runs the 3 of them as well, but it'll be a good race, but I still think he'll be well on top at the finish.
yeah, so coming on to the 205 at Fairyhouse, lads, non-stop quality action. It's the first handicap, and probably the big handicap on the card at Fairyhouse on Sunday. Thomas Coyle, will stay with you. You love the Porterstown handicap. It's a grade B chase over 3 miles and 5. We saw the likes of Presenting Percy win this in the past. The horse that interested me here was Brace Yourself. If he did line up, might be I suppose a quick turnaround. Finished 3rd behind Pencil Full of Lead. He was meant to go Tri-Town, but was taken out of it. We've no prices for the race. He was the one that caught my eye. Anything in here, Thomas Coyle, for you?
Yeah, I just thought as well. Forever Gold was another one that won it. He was actually second to Presenting Percy as well that day, and he was second in it as well. Unfortunately, Eddie has nothing in it this year because it's a race he sort of targets, but he hasn't got a staying chaser. I'm just going to run through a couple of them. Milan Native would be an obvious one, but is high at the weights. Debt Duty, I thought, ran okay in the Tri-Town. Probably needed the run. Was staying on again at the end. Has dropped a pound. I can imagine again if they maybe claim a few off it. Gordon said at the time of the race he'd improve a lot for it, so he could definitely be back there with a bang. He is a graded horse in a handicap. A horse I was very disappointed in the last day that I actually put up on the preview was Captain CJ. He ran no sort of race in Cork the last day. If he bounces back, what I thought he was well handicapped off 143. Local track for Dermot McLaughlin, he'd have a chance. And just one other down near the bottom, Tracy's Enniscorthy for Robert Widger. Was a revelation over hurdles, ended up winning the Pertemps qualifier in Leopardstown at Christmas last year. Had a nice run the last day over fences. He finished 4th. He's £14 better over fences than he is over hurdles now, so off a lightweight, he could be one of interest as well.
Ronan, I'll come to you. You have had a bit of luck with Tom Mullins recently, and he's a couple entered in here. Court Maid is interesting back at the same course. If she was to line up here, I think she's another engagement. It's probably likely the Chevy Artist, and of course Score Mare as well. Anything tickle your fancy in here?
Yeah, I'm Court made a run and say in the mare's race earlier on the card. Chevy Artist would have a chance to. He did it nicely at Punchestown last time, and he could improve again for this sort of trip.
What about Jack Foley, the ride on Chevy Artist? Did you see that?
Yeah, he's good talent, all right. The one I did like though, Barry, and I'm pretty sure he'll start favourite here, is Monlino for Paul Nolan. He does have to get into the race, but he should do. He's only third on the list there to get in. So I'm pretty sure they've had this race in mind for him since he was second in it last year. He ran second to Killer Miller here last year. He went on and ran a nice race in the Leinster National later that season. And he's just had the two little warm-up runs over hurdles, and his latest run was much better than his first one. He finished second down with Clonmel to Sassy yet Classy. He returns, I think he only off a £3 higher mark than last year. He's got the course and distance form that basically a lot of these horses don't have, which is significant. And it surely must have been all about coming back here, because he's had the little two runs over hurdles, and with the proven run in the book. And this race is worth a lot more money than it was last year, because the Irish Grand National obviously got called off, and the Troytown in this race were the beneficiaries of it. All the money from that, the leftover money, went into those two races. So Monlino is the one I think will start favourite, and if he doesn't, I'd be having a nice bet on him, because I think he's definitely the most likely winner.
Mike, Vince, anything buried away in the
scratching my head. A race like this, I think you want to be playing each way as much as anything, because you're trying to work out what on earth Jigginstown will or won't run here. I mean, what have they got? 7 of the top 10? Yeah, 7.
Gordon will run Everton.
Well, exactly, and therefore it might become a question of trying to spot holes in the Jigginstown tricast. I quite liked. I thought the move of stable might have helped a horse called Jerby for Gavin Cromwell, but I'm not sure he's going to get in the race, especially if those tidings of comfort and joy about Gordon running the kitchen sink, which must be number 34 on the list, is confirmed. Of the Jigginstown ones, there's a big race in Monbeg Notorious, but it's cost people fortunes to follow the horse, and I would suggest that possibly Tom Mullins is the one to follow, but I would certainly be possibly playing each way if he gets in. Horse is 26 currently, so he needs a bit of luck, and it doesn't look as though Calentra are in the mood for giving them luck by taking a few out. Jerby each way, but Monbeg Notorious, the day I don't mention him is the day he bolts up, so that's probably put the mockers on him.
Interesting stuff. Brace yourself for me. If he's entered, 235 is of course the big one on the card at Fairyhouse, the Hatton's Grace. Jerry Hannon's famous commentary last year, it's a Hatton's full of grace, when Honeysuckle got up to win. It was a day, I suppose, that she came of age, lads. She's 8-11 in here. Mike, I'll come back to you. It looks a more competitive race this year, in my opinion, than the race she won last year. I thought Fury Road was slightly interesting at 6-1, second favourite here now. I mean, if there were all to run here, would he be good each way value here?
I would think so. Honeysuckle is to me, she jumps clear and she wins. If you were to ask me the question, okay, take Honeysuckle out of it, where would you want to be going here? I would chance this Beacon Edge of Noel Meads, because it's an improver, will like the trip, but Honeysuckle, especially with the £5 mare allowance, if she's going to win the champion, she's going to have to win this, and I think she will. She likes the 2.5 miles, and I can't see the likes of Ronald Pump, I think I was at school with his brother, landing the prize. So Honeysuckle, for me, is the day's good thing at no sort of price. Just watch and enjoy Rachael Blackmore and Henry de Bromhead having another good day.
Interesting. Ronan Groome, would you be willing to take on the favourite each way with anything here?
No, I think she'll win easy, Barry. To be honest, you're saying that you think it's a competitive race. I don't think it's as good of a race as it was last year. I don't really see. I know I mentioned Beacon Edge as a potential horse to follow before, but he's got piles to find here.
Bacardi's finished second in last year, did he?
Yeah,
he's 16-1 here.
Yeah, he's coming in off a win at Navan last year, though, and he coming in here first time up, which would worry me. The likes of cracking smart French Dynamite aren't good enough. Look, I think she could be improving, Honeysuckle. She's only 6, and all of her wins come at Fairyhouse. 2 two of them are grade ones over this course and distance. I just can't see her beating, to be honest. I think the world's her oyster again this season, because I think she can get better. And if you look at Leopardstown last season, she jinked a little bit to her right, and she's not the most fluent jumper, and she gave up a bit of ground at the last there, but you could see that she was good enough to get back up and get on top of Darver Star. And like, I'm not just saying it out of pocket talk, but you look at the form from the champion hurdle. Darver Star was there, Petit Mouchoir was coming down the hill in front. She would have been bang there with Epitante for sure. And I just think she learned from that run at Leopardstown. It was only like her second time going that way, going left-handed, and she kind of corrected that sort of jumping to her right at Cheltenham, which is just a sign of a really good horse who's kind of willing to progress and has the scope to get better. So I think she could be our best hurdler again this season, and I think she'll win here, and then all the champion hurdle talk will start again. I don't see anything here to beat her. Salde is interesting. I know you with the Carlo flag out there, we might make a case for him. He won the Morgiana last year off a big break, so he's coming here off a big break. That would bode well if he is given the chance to run. Willie likes to second guess himself a few times, and you wouldn't be surprised if he didn't show up in declarations in the morning. But he's always been a talked up horse, so he'd be interested in contender against him. But I think the Honeysuckle could get off to a winning start here, and it'll be champion hurdle talk all over again.
I'm not sure, with the ground being soft as well. I know he's won on it before with Saldi, or stepping up in trip as well, especially in the comeback. It wouldn't, I suppose, signal confidence for me. I thought if he was going to return, why was he not targeted? Why was he not put in at the Morgiana last week? Thomas, we'll come on to you with this. Do you Honeysuckle, I suppose you love her as well, don't you? I think we all loved her last year. Ronan, you mentioned champion hurdle. Is there any possibility in your mind that she could go champion hurdle this year?
Absolutely, she could go for it, yeah. Why, like, they've won the mare's hurdle. If you're an owner and you won the mare's hurdle, I would have went, it's easy to say it now, like I would have went for the champion hurdle last season, but they've won it now. They got that trophy in the cabinet. Why would you not be a bit more ambitious and go for the main race, especially with how weak it looks again? There's nothing really jumping out except Epitante, and she's a mare as well. She's going to have the same weight as her in the champion hurdle. I just think it'd be very, if Honeysuckle has a similar type of season to last year.
Does she jump quick enough, or would a good stiff 2 miles at Cheltenham be absolutely ideal for her?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is more the way she corrected herself at Cheltenham from when. Now you could say that's the extra 4 furlongs, but you got to give her a chance. That's just, I think, you be a bit more ambitious with her and go for the main one. You can't die wondering. That's what I always say. So if she had a similar sort of season to last year and she didn't go for the champion hurdle, they went for the mares again and they were odds on there, you'd be disappointed, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Thomas Coyle, any chance for Matthew Smith's Ronald Pump? Not too far from yourself.
Yeah, no, look, it's a clean sweep there for Honeysuckle, but I actually think Ronald Pump might actually follow her home. He's third in on ratings. I think if Keat rode the race the last day in Navan, he got boxed in, he came out, he got boxed in, he got the fall, but he did say he had taken a blow at that stage, so it's 3 weeks ago. He's obviously going to come on for the run. He might just follow her home. Just on that as well, I know we'd all like to see her in a champion hurdle, but it's very hard if you know there's a race at Cheltenham, Ronan, that
they've won it though. They've won the race.
Like it's a lot harder to say. Okay, but I do agree it would be great to have a crack at a champion hurdle, but I think ground would be a lot. If it was on the slower side, yeah, she could definitely have a go. But I think for a trainer and owner, if there's a race there, like look at Quevega, she won it so many times.
But that was so boring, Quevega. Honestly,
yeah, true,
she was absolutely terrible. Like, and they've ever had a go.
Yeah, but I know, but
there'll never be another Quevega in terms of the mare's hurdle anyway. So I think in terms of longevity, I have to say I do agree with Ronan. I think they should have a crack at it. We might just touch upon the 305. The handicap hurdle at Fairyhouse, over 2 miles. It's a grade A. Liz Doyle's horse impressed me. If she was to line up again here, Tom, Cade Boy, Beck Golden Jewel, and bet him well, I thought, at Down Royal, because you guys fancy Golden Jewel at that.
Yeah, you're on a cracker that day. Chris, I even thought to the last Golden Jewel was going to have one crack at him, and he did. He jumped it well, but when he got to his flanks, he actually pulled out a bit more. Chris was talking to Mark Walsh after the race and just asked him what did he think. Mark said, yeah, he's a proper horse, so he could win this, and actually he could probably maybe even take a step up in grade sometime soon. But for me, just on them words, he's probably going to take a bit of beating in this. Bit disappointed that Eddie didn't have a crack with Golden Jewel at him again, maybe at the weights, but there's other plans down the line for him.
Christmas, Leopardstown?
Probably, yeah.
Roland, had you anything buried away here in this 305, or do you think Cade Boy takes all the beating?
Yeah, Cade Boy's the obvious one, Barry. He's following the same line as Janadil did last year, winning that race down Royal and coming and winning here. Look, he'll probably be favourite. 1, 2, just to keep an eye on if they are declared. Campiador is interesting. He ran 4th in that race at down Royal. He's down to a mark of 130. Now, look, he's been very frustrating for connections, and he's been fragile, and he hasn't been the horse that they thought he would, and he fell in this race actually off when he was going to win it off a 12-pound higher mark. That was about 3 years ago now, I would say. It could be 4 years ago. He's interesting because that was his first kind of decent run back. So if we can build on that, and he's off a mark of 130, it'd be interesting. And the other one just down the bottom is Charles Burns' Advanced Virgo, who won a maiden hurdle nicely at Navan last season, and has all the makings really of a Charles Burns special, I have to say. He's been running on the flat this summer and won nicely at Galway on his penultimate start, and he's rated 82 on the flat now, and he turns up here off a mark of 121. I'd be very much monitoring the market with regard to his chances if he does indeed get declared Advanced Virgo. He's a lot of interest to me, so we'll see what happens.
Mike Vince, a nice little giggle there when Charles Burns' name was mentioned. Your thoughts?
Somebody asked me the other day what would be my dream scenario. I said, sitting on a podcast trying to work out a race where the 3 gambles are trained by Ronan McNally, Charles Burns and Tony Martin. On which note, I'll one that went into my note as a horse to follow is a horse called Drop the Anchor, another of JP's. And of course, we've talked about other JP's in this race, so trying to work out what might turn out. Really nice winner at Listowel, brought down, so just throw that particular form line in the nearest available dustbin or give it to the mother-in-law. Down Royal last time in a really strong race. Only 6, there's a big one in this horse. I don't know whether he will turn out on Sunday, but I'm going to follow him until he delivers.
Mike Vince, your nap and NB the weekend.
I'm going to nap a horse at Doncaster, which is making its chasing debut, called Karani, for Nicky Henderson and James Bowen. I think he runs in the 2:18. They've gone over fences with this very quickly from bumpers, sort of stop off hurdles. And because he's owned by Trevor Hemmings, he was always going to be a chaser. And Nicky does send some of his better novice chasers to Doncaster for debut. Remember a certain sprinter, Sacra, jumping big fences for the first time there. And I will next best, in hope and expectation, as much as anything else, to see your face if it wins, Kill Dysart in the big race at Newbury.
Thomas Coyle, nap and NB the weekend.
My nap is going to be Ballyadam. Just to beat you, and Shewearsitwell, so we can get a bit of gloating. My next best is going to be in that 225 in Newbury, the Maria's Rock race. I'm actually going to go the Pinkin each way. He's £7 better off with both Botox Has and the Nichols horse. I thought still a bit inexperienced the last day. Walked through the last, hung a bit left. Just £7 better off for 3 and a 4 length beaten from them 2 horses. So he'd be my next best each way, 16-1.
Ronan Groome.
Yeah, I'm going
to the weekend.
I'm going to Fairyhouse on Saturday for my nap. It's going to be Brayside in the 12 o'clock there, the Ladies National Handicap Chase. I think Lisa Neal's riding this for Gordon Elliott, and I think he's pretty strong profile. He's had the 3 runs over fences. This is the first start in the handicap. He ran third to Pencil Full of Lead at Galway on his penultimate start, and he was fifth to Asturian Furlonge at Punchestown last time out. So he's lowered his grade significantly here. He's got the first time cheek pieces on. His win came over hurdles, came at Fairyhouse last season, and I don't think there's much in the race, to be honest, to take him on. So that's the nap. And next best, I'll go with Mr. Malarkey in the Ladbrokes Gold Trophy. I just think the ground has come right for him, and 1 year on from where he was last year when he was well fancied for the race, I'd give him another crack off the same mark.
Lovely nap for myself. Shewearsitwell, Thomas Coyle, and going right up against you this weekend. I think she wins here, and I do think it'd be interesting to see. There'd probably be quotes flying around for the Supreme, but I think she's going to shorten right up for the Mare's Novice Hurdle. I think that will be her target afterwards. Listen, I think she was very, very obviously impressive ever since winning the bumper, and has obviously gone hurdling. I think she's a mare going right to the top this year. NB comes in the form of Animois at 12:45 tomorrow, lads, at Newbury. Look at, he's won 2 on the bounce this year. Was off for quite a while. I spoke to Gavin Sheehan about the horse as well. Like he thought he was at one time a champion hurdle horse. He's the build of a chaser. He's won 2 on the bounce, up to a mark of 136, I think, over fences and over hurdles. I think he can achieve a higher mark over fences. I think he's 4-1 here for Newbury. I think he represents good value, and I think he can keep his winning sequence going. That concludes the podcast for this week, lads. Thanks very much as well to our listeners and subscribers for getting involved, letting us know your fancies for the weekend. Please continue to do so. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. We'll be back every Thursday between now and the rest of the jump season. Thanks also to Rachael Blackmore, who was our special guest on the show. And lads, we'll be back next Thursday.